At last, I think I've found a shoe that answers a whole bunch of the questions that came up from my original barefoot shoe video that I did on this channel. Biggest video on this channel by far. I've been wearing them forever. I think it's a great idea. There's lots of interesting science that sort of, and this was the emphasis of that video, was what the barefoot shoe community doesn't want to talk about, this idea that I don't think we should be avoiding the heel strike in a walking gait. Yes, we should for running, but no for walking. And I think that a lot of the barefoot shoe community kind of gets a little bit confused over this point, because they see the conventional shoe design encouraging a heel strike for running. I don't think that's how our anatomy is optimized for running. I think, you don't want to run with a heel strike. I think that's only possible in a modern supported shoe. And it just doesn't seem a natural way of running to me, whereas a barefoot style run that is using more of the ball of your foot as to absorb that shock makes so much more sense. So I think a lot of people see that and then they think, okay, that's what we're supposed to do all the time, including walking. But I don't think that's true at all. We have such a different gait. It's quite clear that the heel evolved to increase our efficiency for walking. You can kind of pivot on that heel instead of using muscle to absorb shock. That's the whole point. And especially on softer ground where there's even less potential for impact coming through. And a lot of people are sort of like, okay, yeah, the soft ground thing's interesting. There is lots of hard ground in our ancestral history as well, but mostly it is sort of softer ground. So I think it's probably fair to say that we're quite happy walking on softer surfaces. And lots of people in the comments on that video were sort of saying, okay, yeah, well, why can't we have all the barefoot shoe ideas, the soft floppy sole, the broad toe box that allows a natural toe splay and all of these kinds of things, but we can still have a bit of padding in the sole. And I couldn't really argue with that. I don't really see that there is a massive benefit to not having padding. I don't think that's a key part of any part, of the barefoot idea. The zero drop thing, yes, I get that. The super low rigidity in the sole, absolutely, and the broad toe box, of course. This idea of having a slightly softer inner sole, though, seems a fine idea to me. I have no issue with that. The other complaint that a lot of people had in the barefoot shoe video was that Vivo Barefoot, the brand that I kind of, was sort of saying I use and like, are really expensive. That's still true. They're still wildly expensive. The other thing that came up from that was this sort of idea of style and design. A lot of people I've spoken to about barefoot shoes, they think the Vivo Barefoot shoes look a bit weird. They do some really weird designs. There's kind of awkward, slightly strange look to them. I think I kind of use that as a bit of a branding thing. The shoe that everyone asked about was those brown leather, and they were Vivo Barefoot as well, the Scott 3 I think it was. I've used those forever. I had them resoled, and unfortunately now the stitching has gone on the resole as well, and also actually that leather has finally cracked where it meets the sole there. So I started looking for a new pair of shoes. So do I go back to the Scott? And so I looked on the Vivo website, it's like they're £160 or something. So yeah, I kind of put that on the back burner, carried on looking. I found this company called Oak Hyde, and this was fascinating because they look like normal shoes. They're just traditional leather shoes, really nice couple of ranges, boots and like a chucker boot as well. And I thought, yes, this is what I'm after, right? This is a barefoot style shoe, looks like a normal shoe, doesn't have the Vivo weirdness, but the price is also sensible, reflective of what you'd expect to pay for a high quality leather shoe. Made in Portugal, not made in the Far East. Close relationship with the factories where they pay the wages fairly and so on. So all of these kind of interesting ideas, and just a really sensible, simple, good looking leather shoe design, but with all of the barefoot style benefits. This was the bit I couldn't believe. This company is in the same town that I live. I just so I emailed them. I pulled the, you may know me from the barefoot shoe video, and I don't think they did actually, but they enjoyed watching the video anyway. And we've started sort of having a bit of a chat and thinking, there's a potential partnership idea here. I've been looking for a long-term partner for this channel that sort of isn't focused on any of the one niches that I talk about, that still might be generally interesting to most of the people that kind of share my ideas on things. So here we have the Oak Hyde Hawthorne. Got the sort of squishy collar here, simple leather design all around. I'm absolutely impressed with these. Leather lining as well, which just makes it incredibly comfortable. Also quite a squishy inner sole. And of course still fully flexible and all the rest of it. Proper barefoot shoe with a really nice toe box shape. But ultimately, it's just this classic, simple design that I think was so appealing about the Scott 3, and everyone agreed. They were like, what shoe is that? What shoe is that? I think this would have the same effect. It's a proper classic, nice-looking shoe, very light, and with leather lining throughout, proper it's a proper shoe. You know, you can see the quality of the stitching is really good. I'm just really impressed with these, and I'm very excited about doing a dedicated video on them and so on, and you know, getting to know Oak Hyde a little bit better, and I can, you know, hopefully get down to their warehouses and do some filming there and talk a bit about the different shoes and stuff. So interestingly, how, you know, very interesting how all of the complaints about the Vivo Barefoot sort of approach to the way they make their shoes are addressed by this, in a company that is in the same town that I live in. I just couldn't believe it.